Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It is Friday. We do have some numbers today. It's the, what do you call it? Core PCE price index today. So that's a pretty major number. I am a little bit behind it. I didn't eat. So let's go through the charts really quickly here and just kind of take stock of what happened overnight. So yesterday, okay, Ethereum rolling over today. So yesterday in the treasury, man, you see that, like those spikes and everything is pretty wild. But I did say while we were trading it, like not while we were trading it, while we were watching it, well, this is too wild for me to touch, but I do think the play here is long because the economic data that we got was suggesting that the consumer is weakening and much faster than we realized. And so it did end up being a buy at the end of the day, and now in the overnight, there has been another move up that has almost completely eclipsed the huge down move that we got on Wednesday, which still brings me back to, like, I don't think there's any way for me to know what was the selling on Wednesday. There was just somebody big wanted to get out, I guess. But that puts us in an interesting position, and we are kind of in a position again where if things turn to the upside, there is going to be some crazy, frantic short covering. All right, if all of those CTAs flip around, it will be ugly in the treasuries. Here we got the S&P 500. Somehow they dig it out yesterday, and now we are higher overnight. So for whatever reasons that I may have to think that the consumer is weakening, the economy is going to be a little bit weaker from here. I'm not sure if it's going to be like a recession, but I can see this period of economic weakness that we've been expecting all year is coming to pass. The equities have ignored it and have moved higher. Now, oil, part of that is that oil did come back, but listen, they're not done there, right? Like, that was a pretty big down move yesterday, but it was just equal to the absolutely insane run up that we had the day before, and now today they are on the up foot again. Gold and silver just absolutely pummeled, as you would expect. I continue to see silver actually, I think that maybe it's because silver's basically already at its bottoms. Silver seems to be performing a little bit better in the short term right now. Also, we got copper is recovering quite nicely there. I would say the last few weeks, well, last week or so here, copper was undeservedly negative. So it's nice to see them kind of recovering a little bit. We also did see a bit of a spike in Bitcoin. I'm sure that Michael Saylor is still out there buying. And then the dollar so strong yesterday, almost up to 106.5 one point, but they are coming back off right now, and dollar flows are still looking like an extremely strong, like practically the whole market. And with this PCE coming out, it may be once again that we just go where the dollar takes us. So, good morning, Octavius. Dom Uzi. Is Discord messed up for you? Yeah, let's check here. When is the new video coming out about retail? You're talking about the one about smart money concepts? Yeah, I recorded it last week. I haven't had time to edit it yet, so I will probably start that tonight. Yeah, I'll probably start that tonight. Okay, now I'm just remembering. So I got some food to eat. I also, Amazon, Amazon Web Services was having some issues late last night, and we weren't too affected, but I just want to keep an eye on that. So I'm going to turn on my other machine here and take a quick look at that here in the 3 or 4 minutes that we have until the PCE number. Wait. Yeah, by the way, Discord is having problems for me too. It's not. Messages aren't sending. Maybe they're on Amazon Web Services too. Let's see here. Let me read the latest from them. The last one was 904, so there's been nothing new. Let me refresh here. Okay, the issue has been resolved and the service is operating normally. So does that mean over here on this side? Ah, yes we are. So when did we stop being down? Far enough back that I can't see it anymore. Oh, yeah, because I only have the last 4 hours. So I need the last, like, 10 to 12 hours. $22. So it was about 10 o'clock, about the time that they issued the update. Okay, that's cool. So we're good on that side. Yeah, no, if I go to Discord and I enter a message and it just turns up red. Okay, so here comes the numbers. Again, this is inflation data. It has been quite a big mover for the markets lately. So this is, I would consider this a top tier event. 10 seconds. Oops, I need to turn off the speakers here. Okay. So a little knee-jerk higher there. Sounds like the headline number was in line. There we go. Yep. Core PCE price index month over month spot 1 versus spot 2, and consumer spending spot 4 versus spot 5. So those are both, yeah, those are both a buy. Those are both a buy. Not too much activity off of that though. So let's let this news marinate a little bit. I think they probably do continue going. Well, you know, here on a sim order, we could try and hit it. I'll try hitting it on the sim order. But I need to eat some food here. So let's let this marinate and I will eat. I'll turn the video off so you don't have to watch me eat. Man, well, this is not going very well for me so far, is it? BOJ with bond buying, why did yields drop? You're gonna have to direct me to that news because I did not see that today. I think that would be a significant thing if true. Don't bother like linking it because YouTube will delete the links. You're gonna have to tell me like what news source you had and I'll have to navigate to it. Around what time was it posted? It was really early morning, hence the move in the yen at 1 a.m. That's fair enough. It did move. The yen did move around that time, didn't it? I just don't see anything on my board talking about that. Maybe if I just search Google. Bank of Japan. Tools past 24 hours. The Bank of Japan surprised markets Friday with the announcement that it will buy $2 billion of 5 to 10 year bonds. The yield on the 10-year fell on the session, blah, 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 blah. It altered its yield curve policy. That was earlier stuff. Okay, so not a lot. There is like... Okay, so would they have to sell U.S. Treasuries to fund that? Not necessarily. Actually, I'm going to say no. So my understanding is that when they do an operation like that, they are using like currency reserves that they have with the Federal Reserve and so forth. And perhaps there have been times, or we've seen this where like, so when they announce the bond buying, I tend to see it as like it affects the yen, it affects the Japanese bonds, but not necessarily the treasuries. But then I've seen moves, like big moves in the treasuries around that time, and we're like, oh, that must have been the Bank of Japan. So maybe it is the case that the move on Wednesday was the Bank of Japan selling so that they could do this bond buying operation. That is a reasonable theory, I think. But in terms of like in the short term, I have not noticed that to necessarily have a direct impact on like to see US bonds selling. And if anything, an announcement like that, I would expect to see the US Treasuries move up, which is probably why around that time that we did see the US Treasuries move up. So I like your thinking. I think you're on the right kind of line of thinking, but that's just not the way it tends to play out from what I've seen, at least. I am. So on Wednesday, I had like this swing trade that I had open for a while. I had actually, on the week before, I had been short the treasuries on the contest, and I kind of wished that it had played out that way this week, and then maybe I would have done well on the contest, right? But I'm really glad that I got out, and now I do want to flip. So we haven't really talked about it too much because I was eating and we had other things that we're looking at, but normally I'm going to be very reluctant to trade on a Friday, but today we've got month end and quarter end, so we've got some massive flows to deal with here today, and I anticipate that in the treasury market that it is going to be to buy, that the end of month flows are going to be to buy. The end of month flows tend to be buy, net buy in treasuries anyways, because all of the dealers come in and like restock their inventory for the month. But I think that like the risk parity funds that they're going to have to sell stocks and buy treasuries. So I think that you could see a pretty big market on close imbalance today. The market on close imbalance has been like massive all week. So like there is definitely huge rebalancing been going on, right? Then the other thing is that we do have some economic factors kind of suggesting that the Federal Reserve is done with interest rate increases for the year. And we have all of these momentum factors where if things flip around, enough, it will really mess up. It'll really mess up a lot of positions because so many people were short already. And I'm sure that it only got worse on Wednesday. So it's not going to take very much to get those CTAs to flip. So for now, on my account, because I've got to catch good risk and everything, I'm a little bit wary about this because we still seem to be dominated by the dollar, which means the dollar could go all the way back up to the top of this range and screw up this trade, right? So I'm trying to like average out my position, essentially. I would say so far it hasn't been the best, but we're okay. We're okay. So I'm gonna kind of wait here, let this thing do its thing. And is there any way to see the Bank of Japan U.S. Treasury's holding change number? So there is a report that is released once a month that will report how much different countries own now. So there is, but it's so delayed. I don't know if it would be able to tell us that selling on Wednesday was the Bank of Japan or not. Usually what happens is after it's done and over with, then the news agencies start to report it and stuff like that. So I think that the Bank of Japan selling some US treasuries to buy Japanese treasuries, I don't have a whole lot of evidence for it other than a hunch that they match up. Because a move that big, it's got to be somebody big, and a sovereign wealth fund is just about the only one that's big enough to do something like that, right? So I think it matches. I think that's my leading theory now, especially since I never got any real information Wednesday or yesterday about what it was. So I think that makes it a strong theory, but we need to find like some direct evidence for that theory, yeah? Maybe now that they've done the other half, that they've announced the bond buying, maybe now we will see stuff and it will, showing that it does explain the Wednesday move. So whenever I've got like to take a profit, they're always, I always got to wait for it. They always play with me. Well, let's come in here. Oh, Senator Dianne Feinstein, dead at 90 years old. Months after returning to D.C. after a protracted illness, yeah. Them carting her through Congress, pretending like nothing knows. What a shame. But it finally happened, huh? Who's he? Holy crap. You know, this is going to start happening to us a lot soon. As these boomers die, it's just going to be shock after shock. You know what's the one couldn't impeach death? You know what? That's the one that I think is going to hit me. Well, like I know it's coming. I think that we still have a long time yet, but when it happens, when Patrick Stewart dies, man, that's going to hit hard. That's going to hit hard. Patrick Stewart is like one of the best old people, man. But the next 5 to 10 years, guys. You thought that the last 10 years was crazy? I think we got a lot of wild things ahead of us. They aren't going to be as much of like like COVID and like these huge headlines, war, illness, death sort of, but instead it will be like big people will die and there's going to be a huge change as things shift from Gen X and baby boomers to millennials. Because I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think that millennials are to peak earning years yet. I mean, generally speaking, you would think that they're not peak earning years yet, but I don't think that most of the millennials are in the management jobs and things like that, right? It's coming though, and when it happens, a lot of things will change. Probably the first one, the one that I'm thinking of right now that will change is that the demand for housing will go up even more. Got some big problems there. We got to start building on houses, man. It drives me crazy how behind the politicians are. Man, that was like quite a segue going from Dianne Feinstein dead. But I got that one. Did I not? I didn't hear it on the news squawk. By the way, I'm seeing that on Zero Hedge. Oh, by the way, that reminds me, another flow that we gotta watch is the government shutdown. Now, government shutdown is a really interesting thing because I think that your first like macroeconomic analysis of it would be that that's a sell for treasuries. Like, oh, the government can't get its stuff together. That would make them less likely to pay. That would make them more likely to take on more debt and sell more treasuries. But it ends up being a risk-off event. And so what we have seen in past crises or past government shutdowns, rather, is that the treasuries buy. Although last time it was pretty muted. The market didn't react too much to it last time. Home developments are still booming in South Florida. New developments left and right starting. Well, all in, I think one of the things that's scary about it is that you could see like insanely crazy amount of building and it wouldn't be enough. So you just have to realize that we have been underbuilding. We've been underbuilding housing for basically like 15 years now. So that's a long way to catch up. Another problem that you're going to see is, new apartments left and right starting at $1 million being bought like nothing. Yeah. The next thing that you're going to see is that building sucks. Like, so if I was looking for, let's just say that you gave me $1 million. Seth, here's $1 million. Go and start a business with it. Okay. I would probably go and start a hedge fund. You know me. But, if I was looking like, where's the best opportunity in the economy right now? It's not in housing. You'd think that it should be. You'd think that it should be because there's like a really heavy demand for houses, right? But I don't think it actually is in houses. So there's a lot of problems here. So one, good grief, the mortgage market right now. Whew. So this isn't a mortgage carrier, but something that happened yesterday that is near and dear to my heart is that Epic Games announced that they are laying off like 16% of their workforce. It was like 900 workers. So first of all, I'm really shocked that Epic Games has that many employees now, but that is like a big reduction. And this was after, by the way, Tim Sweeney, the CEO, had been spending all year talking about how, everybody else is doing layoffs, but we're holding strong through it because we're in a better financial health and all of these other things. Now, turns out that they've been losing revenue for quite some time and they just couldn't hack it anymore and they needed to drastically reduce costs. Okay, so that's what's happening to tech companies. Imagine what's happening to these mortgage lenders, right? Because, yeah, they have a lot of money. Like, that's their whole thing, is to have a lot of money. But it's been a long time, guys. It's been a long time. How long can they continue losing money? So that's the first problem, is that, like, funding these things is really hard right now because it's, we're kind of in a recession of sorts. In some industries, we are definitely in a recession, okay? Then the second thing is that building material costs is very, very high. Building material costs is very, very high because of inflation and so forth. And the cost of labor is very, very high because these, like electricians and plumbers and stuff like that, there's not very many of them. They're retiring. A lot of them were boomers and they're retiring. Okay, so it's a little bit hard to find the work. And then you've got to deal with all of the building code requirements and stuff that the cities put on, and even getting permits. So in some parts of the country, it takes like a year or more to get permits, and that adds several $1,000s to the cost of developing the house. So what that means is that if you're going to build a house, you absolutely build the big houses first. And that's why you're going to go out to some of these new development areas and you're just going to see like insane amounts of huge houses. And it's like, who are all of these people that can buy these ginormous houses? Well, you're talking about like the top 10% of earners or something like that. But when you look at the top 10% of earners, that's actually a lot of people. That's still hundreds of thousands of people. And if they're only building houses for those at the top end, then that's what you see, is you just see these huge houses, these huge housing developments being built everywhere. But the problem still remains that they're not building housing for the rest of the scale, especially not the people down at the very bottom end of the scale. Right? And, we're probably not going to see that improve until we start to see governments make changes. And the politicians are like way behind the curve. Like the politicians in the Senate, they don't seem to even be aware that this is something that they can like start talking about and dressing and campaigning on. Right? It hasn't been a big enough of a thing for them to notice yet. In Canada, it's become such a big problem that they're at that point, but not in the United States. So yeah. I wonder who they'll put in Dianne Feinstein's place. Yeah, I don't know. Where is she from again? California. Oh, she's from California. Well, in California, man, you could pick just about anybody in California. Who would Mr. Newsom? Who would Governor Newsom pick? The Los Angeles Times speculated on this several months ago. Okay, so I'm looking at this. Oh my gosh, you're gonna love this. Is Uzi? Let me go back. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna subscribe to your thing. Okay, so. Who will replace Senator Dianne Feinstein? Meet the potential candidates. Blah, 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 blah. This was several months ago. Officially running. Katie Porter, 49 years old, a Democrat. Ugh.
Please, no.
Oh, I can't think of anything more awful than that terrible, clueless woman becoming a senator. Ugh, please no. And of course she wants it. Let me tell you something. This lady, she is like that classic power hungry narcissist. It is bad. You do not want to make her a senator. Bad idea. Bad idea. Adam Schiff. Oh, I forgot that Adam Schiff is in the House and not in the Senate, huh? Well, he might do it, but then you'd have to replace him. Barbara Lee. Eric Early, why would he? Oh, these are people that would be running for the seats. Yeah, probably not. Oh, The Rock, he's not running. That's sad. I would love to see a Senator Johnson. Come on. Don't you want that? Don't you want Don't you want to see The Rock in Congress being like, "Can you smell what The Rock?" Okay. Maybe we need to start an online campaign to recruit him to be Senator in California. Just for the memes. Come on. They're buying out all the low-income areas and building for the other. You're totally 100% that's happening. Hey, Salim, how you doing, man? Ah, they finally took my lot, huh? Well, so I am seeing the flows in the direction that I want. It's not quite as strong as I would like to see. And in fact, in the last 10 minutes or so, we're only seeing about 3,000 net contracts to bring us up here to the highs and to take out my lot at 11. So on this side, over on the micros, you know, I'm basically looking at 453. I would be basically selling the lowest prices. That's not. I might do it, but this is definitely not the best positioning. I guess if I really wanted to take a trade in here, I should have done it when we were like having all that wild swinging from the dollar. And I guess there is still the possibility, though, that we see some swings in the dollar. Also, I'm noting that oil is taking a little bit of a hit here for some reason. I'm kind of... so that was at 11, right? Oh, it doesn't tell me when it was filled. So it was 11. So I think... And it looks like we're actually maybe getting a little bit of flattening because I'm seeing more pressure from the 30-year end of the curve, which is why our micros are sitting there at like 529. Might actually be able to sell that and get a tick or two if it was a more active market. What? Okay, so I'm reading another story now. What's really going on? Elon Musk livestreamed southern border chaos earlier this week. Kentucky GOP Senator Mitch McConnell said providing assistance for Ukrainians to defeat the Russians, that's the number one priority of the United States right now, according to most Republicans. Yeah, no, that's definitely not the case. The majority of Americans do support the war in Ukraine, but Republicans have, I believe at this point, according to the last polling that I saw, have turned on the Ukraine war and no longer want to support it. Even if we were to say that the majority of them support it, I definitely do not think that the majority of Republicans would list that as their number one priority. That's a pretty crazy thing to say. On Thursday, Elon Musk asked on the platform formerly known as Twitter, why do so many American politicians from both parties care 100 times more about the Ukraine border than the U.S. border? Musk asked such a question because in recent weeks, the southern border crisis has once again erupted in chaos, primarily in Eagle Pass, Texas, and at the same time, the corporate media and the Biden administration downplay the massive influx of illegals into the U.S. I love the way that they say it. Of illegals. Okay. In a search for truth, the world's richest man encouraged millions of his followers to become citizen journalists to uncover and share the truth about what's happening, not just at the border, but across the nation, while corporate media and political elites in Washington, D.C. distract, pretend, and divide Americans. I see. So Elon Musk's take on it is, hey, Twitter is the perfect place, if not the only place, that you can come in and, do citizen journalists. Yes. Oh, what was that last one? I really need to pay better attention. Okay, besides some right-leaning outlets, there has been a blackout of news coverage by the corporate press about the latest border crisis flare-up. Musk's mission on the border yesterday was to show how X can be a powerful tool to share real-time coverage about what's really happening on the ground that entirely bypasses legacy and dying corporate media outlets. Musk's reporting of the border crisis on X doesn't stop with his live stream. He quoted another post showing illegals crossing the border while saying the border crisis is worse every day. New York City is buckling under the load already. Okay, so can I just, this drives me crazy. Okay, so I really hate it when the left tries to use words to euphemize everything, like we have to call them undocumented immigrants or we have to call them asylum speakers. Okay, I hate that. That is so annoying to me because I just don't think that it is a very accurate reflection of what's actually going on. Asylum seekers or whatever. Yeah, and I think that language very much matters, right? Because some words do have emotional impact and connotation to them, and so. The words that you use and that kind of sets the narrative to some extent. It does matter, okay? But on the split side of this, we should still keep our language professional, okay? So if we were to say illegal immigrants or, I don't know what other terms you would use, but I feel like to just say illegals is so incredibly unprofessional language, unnecessarily prejudicial, unprofessional language. I digress. Continue reading. As he commented on another post that shows some stunning data about the number of illegal immigrants the Biden administration has allowed to pour into the country. See, every time that they use it, they say illegals. Meanwhile, an MSNBC host was triggered by Musk's reporting of the border. Why does the world's richest businessman sound like a MAGA bot spewing out automated right-wing talking points? Because they're not talking points. It's actually happening, you retard. Ugh. Since when is reporting reality? Oh yeah, of course, Zero Hedge has the same response. Since when is reporting reality a MAGA bot spewing out automated right-wing talking points? Yet more evidence the corporate press does not want the majority of Americans to understand the truth while they divide and conquer the populace. Musk is correct. If you want to defeat the corporate press, become a citizen journalist and utilize the First Amendment. We all have smartphones. It's very easy. Yeah, except for the... we found out last time that we had a citizen journalist sort of thing going on like this, that, they just would go and find the citizen journalists and start harassing them. I could move down to the border and I could start reporting every day on what's going, could give this all up. I'll become a citizen journalist. I'm just going to post stuff on Twitter about the border crossings and stuff and try and give people they'd come after me. They would totally come after me, wouldn't they? Like Andy, what's his name? What's his last name? I don't think I know how to say his last name, actually, to be honest. But Andy gets attacked by concrete milkshakes and assaulted and all this crazy stuff. And then when he goes to sue them, that whole court case, I shouldn't think too hard about this one. And it just makes me mad. Kind of feel like it's a little. I feel, Mr. Musk, that it's a little bit dangerous to be a citizen journalist. But hey, I do kind of wish sometimes that maybe I could. I don't know. How much do you think I censor myself here on YouTube? I mean, I don't. In a one-off in videos, I don't really talk about political stuff anymore. On stream, I do, but I feel like that I'm pretty. I'm more fair than I have to be. Let's put it that way. So is that me censoring myself? I don't know. If there was something that I really, really cared about, you wouldn't keep me quiet now. So I don't think I censor myself. But if this was all on Twitter, would I do things differently? I don't think I would. I don't think I would. I don't know about you, but if I were a South American country, I'd be emptying my prisons into the U.S. about now. Well, so all of these countries on the path to Mexico are where was it? They were declaring a state of emergency yesterday. I think about this often. I don't know why it never comes up when I'm on stream. I think it was Costa Rica that was declaring a state of emergency, but yeah. Yeah, Bank of Japan acts to slow rising bond yields with unscheduled buying. It's because the data lanes were effective. Okay, anyways. When Joe Biden was entered office, I remember 2 streams in particular where I went into great detail about what Joe Biden had promised to do in his campaign, what he was likely to do, and what the likely effects of that were going to be. And I said straight up, that he's going to do more stimulus, so you're going to see more inflation. And he's going to import massive numbers. He's just going to, the border is just going to be a complete free-for-all. And it's going to be millions and millions of people coming across. And it's not like you guys didn't believe me, but I felt like I was screaming out into the void like nobody cared. It's just so crazy. But I guess even now it still kind of feels like we're screaming out into the void because... you've got the mayor of New York is starting to say this is a big deal and people in other places, but it's not like Congress is going to do anything about it. You don't hear anything about it on the news. You don't. So yeah. So anybody decided to sell below 5.3 now? Five of you. I always assume that it's like my stream are the only ones trading the micro treasury futures. That's the way I think of it. So 5 of you have decided to sell it, but look, we are now almost a full basis point lower. Nobody's selling it right now. That's a little They gave us a little bit of a pullback, didn't they? And I didn't take it. But I didn't take it because it was a pullback when we were still 453. I was like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that guy again. I've been that guy too often lately. I don't want to be that guy today. I want to sell the yields, but I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? That guy, it's like you sell it and then it immediately reverses. And all of a sudden, it's like we're 2 basis points higher. And you were like that one guy that sold at the low. I hate being that guy. You, at some point, you will be that guy. Don't want to be that guy today. There wasn't anything about those aliens today, was there? You got me thinking about that now. Don't get me hyper focused on the aliens. Ugh. Hey, Francesco. See, it's Friday. On Friday, we talk more about social issues and conspiracy theories because it's Friday and usually there's not as much going on. I think today we should try to stay a little bit more focused, but we can still talk about that. No, I'm not an alien. My mom is Canadian. Does that count? But okay, so I saw something, this isn't about aliens, but I saw something yesterday that's kind of along those lines that I thought was super interesting, okay? You want to hear about this? Okay, so there is a theory that the pyramids were actually chemical processing plants. Isn't that interesting? So they were saying that, like, part of the pyramid is underground, and that's so that they could like get water, and these chambers would be flooded, and that they often, when you look at like what is on the walls and things like that in some of these pyramids, they find chemicals and compositions and things that don't make sense. For instance, there's this one pyramid where like the walls are secrete ammonia, and they're like, well, it's from the bats, but like all of the pyramids have bats and they don't all have ammonia, but this one does. And then they go through and they describe the like what the chambers actually look like and why it's set up, and explain how that can lead to it producing ammonia. And I find it such a compelling theory just because, like, if like civilization collapsed, like not just civilization, it would have to be more than civilization collapse. If we were like suddenly transported to another planet and we had nothing to work with, how would we rebuild civilization? Well, chemicals are a big part of our modern civilization. So one of the things that allows us to do crazy stuff, and you're not necessarily going to have the materials and ability to build things out of like metal. So if you want to build a chemical processing plant of some sort, you would have to build it a little bit differently. And if you were going to build it with the kind of technology that they had at that time in ancient Egypt, I think that building a pyramid kind of makes sense. I feel like it kind of makes sense. I don't know if I really see enough strong evidence to like believe it, but like it sure seems like a compelling theory, man. It sure. Have you ever heard that before? That the pyramids are a chemical processing plant? I thought that was a really it was such an interesting thing I had seen yesterday. Let's see, your Francesco out early. Well, it's a Friday. Take it early if you made some money. What you're seeing is not really giving you confidence at the moment. It's not my favorite action. I'll admit that. It does kind of look like I could have been short from 453 though. I don't know if they're going to give, now my kind of problem is I don't know if they're going to give me 453, and if they do give me 453, I don't know if I want it anymore. I'm going to keep watching it. I got to keep watching it. I don't like this right here in the micros. Oh, you know what? It's the last day. Maybe we should switch. You know what? Let's switch. So we're at U. So next is V, right? October is V, I believe. It's V and then X Z. Come on. Why are you being like this? Yes, there we go. V. October is V. Yay! Freaking my mouse keeps sliding down. That's so funny. October. Okay, they're coming back a little bit more now. So when we switch the 10-year to V, yes, that's so much better. Okay. Now, I come to what you talked about there, Octavius, in a second. I wouldn't automatically equal ancient civilizations' ingenuity with alien. All great civilizations have fallen when they face the same issue we're facing today, birth rate decline. Is that the case that all I don't think that it's always happened that way, but it's definitely a real concern, right? Why you switch to V rather than straight to Z? So the micro treasury yield futures roll over month to month. So basically you can trade it until the last day of the month, and then it switches over to the next month's contract. So unlike the ZN, which rolls over quarterly. So if we want to trade the front month, the one with the most liquidity, it is going to be V now at this point. I don't know. It does look like just when you look at the volume and everything, you can see that there has been a little bit more activity. The spread is tighter over here on V. You say always. I mean, I don't think that a population decline necessarily has to lead to a societal decline, because productivity increases can overcome some of those problems. Like we complain about automation, for instance. Oh, the robots are going to put us all out of jobs. But the thing that you're going to find is that there's going to be so many jobs that we have a hard time filling. Like this is what your grandchildren's future is going to be, guys. This is straight up what is going to be happening after the boomers die. Is it's going to be like, guys, we as a society cannot afford to let you work at McDonald's or be baristas. We need you. We are in desperate need for you to go to school and become engineers and computer programmers and all of these sorts of things. Like, we'll let the robots do all of the service jobs and the low-level labor. We need people that are thinking, because if we don't, our society is that's what it's gonna turn into. It's it's kind of funny, because remember the other day we were talking about how on TikTok right now, there's all these teachers complaining about like how the the students' expectations have been lowered, that you get these kids, they go to college and they can't even write complete sentences. And it's like, how did you even graduate from high school, let alone get into a university? It's insane. And then the teachers are just told, we need to adjust our expectations and you need to pass them and this and that. And it's like, no, this is terrible, because these people are going to become healthcare professionals and stuff. And, they need to be competent. You can't just pass them through at this point anymore. This is going to be dangerous, right? Well, that's what's going on right now. And you kind of have this, it seems like a generation of kids that are like way more lax, right? They're not as interested in achieving and being, what I say, excellent. But the next generation that comes after this, I think it's going to switch around, because what's going to happen is the effect of boomers retiring is going to be cause so many problems that, the government is going to be desperate to push people into the highest jobs they can. It will really turn into anything that's like manual labor, menial work. We can just automate it. We don't have enough people. We need the people that are doing the thinking. Really will turn into that. But because we have AI now, and because we're getting to a spot where a lot of things can be automated, I think that our civilization can move forward. And basically, like, the population decline will kind of be a good thing in the long run, I think. Because if there's less people around, then that means that you can get paid more, right? Youth today don't take much very serious. I would say there is a portion of youth today that don't take things very serious, and it's a larger portion than typically in the past. I mean, you gotta think back. This was a complaint about Gen X to some extent, right? That they were like anti-authority, and they were being delinquent in school and all of this sort of stuff. Who's Thomas Malthus? I don't even know who that is. Civilizations typically have a tender... Yeah, I don't know if I buy into all that stuff or not, but... Okay, let me look that up. Now, while I'm thinking about it, I don't want to just graze over what Octavius asked about. Did you watch the impeachment? I found it entertaining. You know what? I feel like that I should find it entertaining. I didn't watch it, but I did see a lot of media about it. I watched the whole thing where Ocasio-Cortez and what's her about MTG or whatever had it back and forth, and they were like, "Can you see?" And she's like, "I'm wearing my contacts today." It was like, what? It should be entertaining. It's a zoo, man. But you know what? I don't find it entertaining. I don't find it funny. I find it quite disheartening that such a serious issue as the corruption that is being alleged here is treated like a joke. I just got here and you're getting bashed. Oh, are you Gen Z? Oh man. You know what? Like I said, it's both ways. I tell you, Gen X. No, it wasn't bad. Well, okay. I wasn't saying that is true of Gen X, but when you were a kid, that's what they said about people, right? That's what they said about your generation. They're delinquent. They're all of these sorts of things, right? So we got to keep in mind this bias for the older generations and the media to pile on the younger generation. always. Okay. That's definitely a bias. Okay. But I think it is undoubtedly the case that there is a lot of kids that feel like they don't have to really do anything at school, that they're just going to get passed anyways, and it doesn't matter because they're all going to work menial jobs, and they've kind of become anti-capitalist in that respect, and that's definitely a thing that's going on. It's a larger thing than it's been in past generations. It's not all kids, obviously. Well, I did get expelled, but only twice. So this is what I was thinking about this morning. That was why I took too long to get ready and showered and everything. Okay. I think that there are really 4 levels of investing. There are like 4 major stages that you as an investor, and I'm not talking about trading, I'm talking more about investing now at this point, that you're going to go through. Okay. If you're a kid, if you're like in high school or you're just entering into the workforce, okay, you don't have a whole lot of money to invest, of course, right? The most important thing for you to do, there are 3 things you want to do when you're in like those early 20s, okay? Number 1 is get into a job where you have a 401k match and max out that company match. Okay, it's usually they'll match up to 4% of your income or whatever. The earlier you can start contributing to your 401k, the better off you will be. Okay, if you start when you are 19, then saving for retirement is easy. Okay, if you start when you're 40, it's hard. It's super, super hard. I started when I was 19, and so I just have to continue doing what I'm doing, and I should be able to meet my goals. And now at this point, I'm exceeding my goals, and I'm putting money away to try to take on more risk. Right? Start early. That's number 1 thing. Number 2 thing is to find a career, like a real career. Okay, being a barista is not necessarily a career. You need to have a job that gives you negotiating power, where you are pretty confident, or you can be confident. Let's say you need a job where you can be confident that 10 years from now you'll be making more than you are today, because there's room for you to grow. As your experience, you become more valuable, and at the very least, you are valuable enough that you have negotiation power so that you can continue to negotiate up your salary with inflation. Okay, so that you outpace inflation. That's a really, really important thing. Okay, because if you top out early, and some people do that because they never do get into a career like that, then you're host. But a lot of the problems that you have end up being solved by just inflation and your income continually going up. If you're able to get into a house, and your house payment is maybe like 30, well, they say it's supposed to be 30% of your income. When I bought a house, it was like 50% of my income. Okay, now it's more like 20% of my income. Why? Because my earnings continue to go up with inflation, and if this continues, they'll really continue to go up, right? The number 3 most important thing you can do at that stage is to ensure that you find the right partner. Okay, if getting divorced is probably one of the worst things that can happen to you financially, so you want to get together with somebody that is dedicated to the institution of marriage, that they say, once I make that commitment, I am going to do everything in my power to make it work. Obviously, there are some situations where you need to get out of that, okay? But sometimes your personalities just don't match, or things like that. You have to work it out, and you need to find somebody that can do that. But then on the investing side, you need to marry somebody also that understands these things, that says, yes, we do need to max out our 401k contribution. Yes, I do need to meticulously keep track of my spending. Don't marry somebody that's going to be frivolous, that has this attitude of don't have to do anything. It all sucks anyways. Let's not bother saving for retirement because we'll all be hosed at that age anyways. Don't avoid those people, okay? Those will screw you over. Those are the people that will keep you from being successful, okay? So they're the 3 most important things that you can do at that level, right? Then you get to the level that most people are at, which is that you have a career. And at that point, the most important thing that you can do is contribute to your 401k. And that's probably just about all that you can do. Okay. But that's super, very, very important. Right. Then you get kind of to more the level that I am at, which is where you have some of those excess savings. Okay. The important thing that you do here is keep saving. Okay. Because at that point, the biggest expense that you end up having is taxes, is the government. Like it ends up being, this is like 30% of your income. That's a huge expense, guys. It's a huge expense. So you max out your 401k, max out your IRA. And if you have kids, you can start contributing to 529s. So it's not until you're in the like $200,000, $300,000 range that you're actually like, you have money that you can't put away in tax advantaged accounts. Okay. So take advantage of that. Okay. And that's like the 3rd level of investing, right? But I said there was 4, right? Well, the 4th level is thinking about investing from a societal level. It's thinking about where are we putting our efforts? Where are we trying to go as a society? This is something that men do think about a lot. They might not realize that that's the way that they're thinking about it. I'm asking you to think about it of how are we investing from a societal level? When you look at how we are investing from a societal level, there's kind of some problems, isn't there? Because we are taking on a lot of debt and we are spending on a lot of things. And are we really spending our money on the things that we want to? So I don't think that very many people would say yes. Okay. But there are also some of these generational and societal trends that are kind of happening that maybe work in our favor, right? Like with the advent of AI and automation, that's going to make productivity insane. Okay. One worker is going to be able to do the work of 1,000 workers from before. It's just like insane amounts of productivity that we're about to come into, right? And we are going to see a population decline. But at the same time, okay, so where is the investment? It seems to me like the place that we're not investing that we need to invest in right now is in making the next generation excellent. I think that we didn't pass that value on to Gen Alpha. We kind of said, and these are like the older millennials and Gen X that were raising these kids, right? We kind of said, well, my parents were too hard on me. I need to, be kind and more loving and make sure that they feel understood and loved. And that kind of ended up turning into whatever crazy thing my kids are saying or doing, just go along with it and kind of hope for the best. So this is where you get some of these things like kids have these crazy, you know what I'm going to go into. I don't need to go into that. But then there's this other side, which is like kids that aren't even trying, or they don't feel that they need to do their best. They're like, maybe someday when I care, then I'll be excellent. No, excellence is a skill you need to practice every day. Very important. And I feel that is where our investment needs, that is the place where we as a society are underinvesting. It's a serious, because we don't want to be serious, but it is a serious thing, right? You need to be excellent, and you need to think about how you're going to pass that on and do things that will be the most beneficial for the next generation of people. I think part of the reason why we missed a lot of that is because a lot of my generation just didn't have kids. So a lot of my generation's honest, I'm sorry if you don't have kids and you take offense to this, but it's like you don't grow up. There's just certain things about having kids when all of a sudden when there are other people that are more important than yourself, like everything changes, And that group of people, they don't think about those things, and so we're not investing in those areas. But it's going to be very, very important going forward. It's not just DP's optimistic. Yes, I'm always going to be optimistic. You know why? Because when I think about some of the things that we've talked about in the past few weeks, you and I, Uzi, because you kind of have a cynical approach to it, and like, well, Donald Trump probably will win. The Democrats probably will cheat and defeat him. Although there is some polling that's showing Donald Trump like outside of the margin of them even being able to commit fraud to win. But I don't think that it'll be like that when we get to the election. I digress. This is kind of looking at things and like, this is like the way things have been going, and the future is just going to be like the worst possibility going forward, right? You might be right. And in fact, if I'm trying to like make predictions and like game it out that way, it also almost kind of seems like the most likely scenario. But here's my counter. Number one, things do tend to work out, actually. Things actually do tend to work out. And number two, it pays to be optimistic. Doesn't pay to be cynical. It pays better to be optimistic. So it is to our advantage to take this position that it's going to work out in our favor. That's going to be good. Because I could have, when I was 20, I could have taken this cynical approach. Okay, I could have done it. I wouldn't be where I wouldn't have done any of the things that are necessary to get me to where I am today. Absolutely no, absolutely not. Like think about trading. For instance, this is the perfect example to bring it back to trading now, okay? 95% of traders lose, guys. You all know it. Trading is super hard. Most people don't work it out. To some extent, you might even say that it's like an impossible thing, right? I could just take the cynical attitude, which is what many people do, and say, well, since the market is rigged and there's no way for me to make money, I just don't care about it anymore. But I didn't do that. I said, oh, whoa, what the fuck was that? Okay. I gotta stop. Okay, so on CNBC, Brainerd, is it Brainerd? Is saying that inflation data is absolutely good news. So that was something I would say was a bullish comment on CNBC. We just saw a massive order stacked in polls. Ooh, yeah. So no, it was in the treasuries at 12. Somebody stacked like, how much is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Somebody stacked like 6,000 or 7,000 contracts at 12 and then immediately pulled them. Is it PMI? Hold on. Did I miss something else? Oh, you're right. You're right. It was Chicago PMI. It was definitely Chicago PMI. Well, that's my mistake. I didn't read forward and say like, oh, what else do we have for this session? We have Chicago PMI and we have University of Michigan sentiment at the top of the hour. So, that was probably a robot. It was probably a robot, but I think Octavius is right. I think that was actually was Chicago PMI. That's why the liquidity is. That's why the liquidity is the way that it is. So that probably means that the PMI was good, but the knee-jerk reaction didn't last. So I guess we'll see what it actually is. Brainerd is still speaking, by the way, on CNBC2. That's going to move the markets. 47.6 was what they got versus, or is what they're expecting versus a previous reading of 48.7. Anyways, I was saying from a trading perspective, most people lose. So you could take the cynical attitude and say, well, I'm just not going to be involved in the markets. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't know any of the things that I know about markets. And ergo, I wouldn't have been able to make any of the other decisions in my life that were able to benefit my career and my house and my family and everything else. Right? So you see, in the end, being cynical doesn't benefit you. All being cynical does is cause you to not take opportunities, and ultimately, to make outsized gains, you have to take risks. So it is to your benefit to be optimistic. Was the point I was trying to make. You can still be cynical and still do everything that you're saying. Well, yes, but maybe that's what I'm doing is maybe I would have the natural tendency to be cynical, but I choose to take the optimistic route on it anyways. Right? Someone once said that poverty was a mental disease. I'm not 100% sure that's true. Being cynical is better risk mitigation than being is true. The key question really is, how much risk should you actually take? Right? Because there's no clear answer to that. You know? They always say, like, okay, when you're investing, like, you have to take into consideration your risk tolerance and things like that. Like, if you're the kind of person where that money really bothers you, then you shouldn't take any, you know. But it seems to me like there should be like an optimal risk-taking, you know, solution. But nobody's bothered to look. No, it's not disagree, but that poverty is a disease. Okay, well, the reason why I find that an interesting comment is because that's what the rich believe. Yeah, in my opinion. I think that like the ultra rich, you know, and we're talking about like, you know, Vanderbilts and like multi-generational families that have been millionaires and billionaires for like hundreds of years now, right? They do kind of believe it. Because they've gone through this thing where it's like, I want to help the people. I'm going to try and lift the people up. And they try and do it. And then, like, people don't want to do the things. You know, it comes into, like, if you want to have outsized gains, you have to be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do. And so you'll always, if you are a successful person, you will always run into this situation where when you try and teach these things to other people, that they don't want to do it. And that can make you very jaded very quickly. And so the way that the rich think about these sorts of things is like, well, you know, we tried to do everything that we could to try and lift these people out and everything. They don't listen. What else can I do other than make the most I can off of them? And so they start to treat the lower classes like cattle is what happens. Now, I would argue that kind of attitude and position just harms society as a whole. I think that you still stay optimistic and you still look for where are the little places I can kind of slip in and help people the most and change their attitudes about things and move them towards a healthier mindset. Because I don't think that it's just like in their genes. But, you know, if you were rich like that, you'd have to start to think about, I mean, it would be very easy that you would fall into that trap, right? Like, especially for women, you know, there is a very clear correlation between how fit you are and your income, right? rich people, and maybe it's because rich people have the time to work out, but maybe it's that you're more likely to get the good job if you're good looking. I don't know, but they start to think of it like we're just genetically superior. We're fit. We are smarter than the masses, and so we deserve to be on top of these other people that are not that are not as genetically fit as we are. But we know that that's not true. Because you get these rich people that are just absolute idiots, just completely stupid, because they've never had to think, right? How smart you are is largely a factor of how much time you spend thinking. Optimism is how people leverage their homes by becoming 65K. There's optimism and then naivety, right? Yeah. Is the nature of capitalism to have a demographic of people who will be left behind? How big that demographic is a byproduct of culture, education, and policy? There are some people out there that are at the bottom of the heap, and it's not their fault. I don't know what percentage of that group of people it is, but some people just fall on hard times or get a bad hand dealt, right? You see, from my perspective, I guess what I'm trying to say, because I'm not arguing that, like, there shouldn't be a system and that there shouldn't be classes. I mean, I don't like the whole thing of, like, there's classes, but it's inevitable that you're going to have some people that do well and you're going to have some people that do poorly. What I am against is thinking that because you did well or because they did poorly, that you are, quote, better than them. Anytime that you sit down and you start to say to yourself, I'm better than them, because that's just whatever metric it is that we're looking at, that is just our tendency as people to think, I think I am a better person, my culture, my everything is better than theirs. Anytime that you do that, I promise you are treading on dangerous ground, because that is where enmity comes from. That is where this kind of like man versus man kind of comes from, and major conflict develops. Those kinds of attitudes do not benefit us. Right? So, there are some people out there that I think that they have culture and principles that harm them. It's totally true. Okay. We really need to avoid extending that to, well, we're better because we have the correct culture, right? Oh, what's your question? Yeah, you just ask your question. I always try and get to them. But we kind of aren't. It's always related to trading, right? Because you got to realize that, like, we have the society, and trading is this little thing down at the bottom that is kind of like the engine. And so, to some extent, to really understand our place in trading and what's going on in the current market, we do have to understand what's going on in the larger society and have opinions about society. Just like we need to have opinions about, like, Federal Reserve policy, for instance. So I did a co-integration on Google and Apple. I did that on daily data. My P&L goes sideways until the end of 2020 and then goes to the moon. Yeah, well. Okay, so you're running into something that I keep running into in my back testing too, though. Is like every strategy that I do, it seems like it goes sideways until 2020 and then it just goes whoop. And I think what's happening is that there's going to be certain parameters that you need. And so you adjust the market, you adjust the market based on, or you adjust the strategy. You adjust the strategy based on these parameters. Through a back test, you do an optimization back test to find, the correct, you want to take the trade when the co-integration factor is above a certain amount, right? And the problem is that the COVID crisis is such a huge fat tail that any kind of market fitting that you do ends up just selecting for something that did well during COVID, basically. So that's really just a roundabout way of saying that you're overfitting because of COVID. You're overfitting to COVID. So the solution to this is to go back and do your fit. Either do a fit where you readjust it, the parameter every month, and then forward test, or you take the old data set, you do what it was doing 10 years ago, or what it was doing in 2017. What was it doing in 2017? Use that as your test and an optimization data set, and then forward test. Now, for the one, there is no thing that you're there's nothing you're optimizing. Well, and then it also comes into our tendency is going to be to select strategies that did well during COVID, right? Wow, we already took out that other contract. Okay, well, I think that I did get what I wanted from averaging out my position and everything. I wouldn't say that it was super great, but it did work. We'd still have these numbers at the top of the hour. By the way, the Chicago PMI was 44.1 versus a 47.6, so it was indeed a weak number. Anyways, I find it interesting that the price action one, because there's nothing to optimize in that one too. It's just the pattern, there's no parameters really. And it kind of does that where it's it's random for a really long time. And then all of a sudden in 2020, it starts doing really, really well. And then all of a sudden it doesn't do very, very well. But the other thing that I would argue is that, you're doing long Goog, short Apple? I was going to say that, there was definitely a change in the market that would affect Google and Apple around that time because they put so much money into the market and it largely went into those big tech companies. And so I would think that it would be something that you would be able to see going all the way back to 2008, but then you would definitely see a change in behavior after 2020. And then you would probably definitely see this, a change in behavior after 2022 when interest rates started tightening, right? But that doesn't sound like that's what you're actually seeing, is it? But I see this happen in a lot of strategies where it's just the strategy does really, really well or really, really poorly during COVID. And that often means I'm overfitting. Another thing that happens is that I need a better granularity on my backtest. So if I'm backtesting 30-minute bars, there might be enough of volatility within that bar for me to have both gotten stopped out and take my profit within that bar. And there's no way for the backtester to know which one it would have hit first. And it needs the data series underneath to be able to figure that out. Okay, well, I'm happy with what I got here now before this news. Treasuries came back up a little bit though. I don't know. I was looking for like 353 again, and they didn't even get even close to that. Well, they were at 52 though. Happens with everything you tested? That seems a little suspicious. Well, it will last as long as you have COVID in your data set, right? So one thing that you could do is you could tell it, just don't trade if the year is 2020, right? Okay, so let's see here. 5-year inflation 2.8, which is in line with expectations. 1-year expectation 3.2, which is in line with expectations. And the headline sentiment 68.1, which is slightly higher than the anticipated 67.7 and higher than last report. Condition 71.4 versus 69.8. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is of the numbers that we would care about, the inflation numbers, just in line and nothing really too special. So now that we have I'm not seeing too much flow coming out because of that. So now that we have the news out of the way, we should probably see the passive flow start to be a little bit more dominant, which might help if we were going to go long. What about 21, 22, and 23? Well, you might want to cancel out 21 as well, but I don't know. Like the thing is that if I've got a co-integration strategy, this is what bothers me about it, is that if it's a strategy that's like looking at the co-integration between two closely related assets and buying one and selling the other and seeing the spread come back in or something like that, right? That should be something that fairly consistently makes money, right? Like, I would understand if it's like, it kind of goes up and then every once in a while you have a big jump, or maybe every once in a while you get a big decline and then it kind of continues on its way. But I would think that like the average day-to-day profitability of it should be relatively consistent on a strategy like that. And if it's not, if it's going like this and then all of a sudden 1 year is like this and then like this, then that's really makes me think that there's something wrong with how we're doing it, Like that, not just like maybe there's a problem with the strategy but that we might be tricking the back tester in some way, or we might be getting a result that is not realistic to life. Nick Timmerell's 13 minutes ago, revisions to the PCE inflation data suggest core inflation was a bit higher than previously reported earlier this year and last year. Core PCE is now reported to have peaked at 5.6. It suggests the current disinflation may also be unfolding a touch faster. Which perhaps explains why you got kind of flows both ways. Although I would say, like, I don't tell you what, after a long week, it's kind of good to see this. I mean, look at the cumulative delta there. Look at how clean and consistent that is. Yeah. End of month buying, almost certainly. Now you can see we've already gotten to the point where they've kind of reached their impact. But definitely there. It's definitely there. What were we talking about? We were talking about why are people poor, weren't we? I don't know. I think it's one of those questions where I don't think that there's a very clear, obvious answer to it, but only that I can say that I don't think that it's fair or correct to say that everybody that's poor deserves to be there and everybody that's rich deserves to be there. Reality is much more complicated than that. And when you start to let that color the way that you treat people, it leads to bad things. I don't know how we got onto that. I was like going back through this and I was like, oh yeah. I think you'll see a staggering class divide as time goes on. I'm not 100% sure if that's true or not, though. That's where I'm kind of getting into, like, when we actually dive deep into some of the trends that we're having. Yeah, you can well, you should send it to me on Discord. I still haven't tried to do the co-integration thing yet, so. But when you look at the trends and everything, I just do not see the same picture that all of the doomsayers on the internet do. All of the futurists on the internet do, right? The futurists on the internet say that automation is coming, and that means that people are going to be put out of jobs by robots, and they won't have any way to make a living. And that's going to be bad for humanity as a whole. And I believe that attitude is really born more out of their political ideology, where they really want to have communism, and they think that they should be able to subsist on the government, essentially. And there's always going to be a group of people that want to just subsist off of the government, and they're going to try and push things that way. But the economy has just never worked that way. And especially when you consider that, like, the birth rate is going down and everything. What's really going on here is that automation and artificial intelligence is going to increase productivity massively, but we're also going to be seeing population decline at the same time. So it's going to provide people a lot of opportunities. There's still going to be a lot of things that the robots can't do. The robots that we have now, I think there was kind of this thinking. You know, this was a year ago when all of this Chat GPT and all that came out. They're like, well, if Chat GPT can do this now, then it's not going to be very long before they can do this, and this. But you have to realize that these large language models are like one discovery, like one huge optimization that is like a huge leap. And in order to get AI to the spot where some people are talking about, where it's like you don't even have the need for humans anymore, you would need several dozen huge leaps like that. So that kind of technology is probably still decades, if not hundreds of years away. Okay. There are things that the large language models cannot do, and basically all of the work is going to shift towards those things. And yeah, it means that you're more productive overall. So people in general should make more. Quality of living in general should go up. Just unquestionably, the cost of living will go up. The quality of life will go up. Especially if, for instance, we get to the point where, like, you have bipedal robots that can build houses. Okay. Once you get to the point where you have robots that can build houses, or you have ways of making quality houses that are just completely automated, quality houses, not these like crates, okay? Where so that all of a sudden the cost of a house goes from, you know, $1 million down to like 50,000. Yeah, so that's gonna have huge quality of life improvements for everybody. It really is. So there's really some strong reasons for us to be optimistic about the future, right? And so we need to take in mind with where things are going and kind of look at strategically where we should be investing. And as we can't really make like a conscious decision with that from society, but what we can do is from an individual perspective, we can look at what we're doing in our lives and how we're kind of making those societal level investments. Well, they seem to be hanging out at 10 now. It's been an awfully volatile tape today. It does seem to be a little bit flat. Things have calmed down a little bit. Okay, interesting. Put a little test order out there. They didn't hit it, so that means that I probably am on the right track here. Ten-year yield at day high? No. AI still relies on input people need to realize is not truly generative in nature in response to its environment. Yes. It's not coming up with ideas. It's remixing and combining things that people have already said. And in fact, we're starting to run into some interesting problems with like the quality of the data is getting worse and the quality of the algorithms is getting worse. Although that may be due to changes that they've made in the algorithm too. Creators now have the option to always allow direct messages from subscribers. Cool. Okay, McCarthy is speaking in a news conference at the moment. Okay, there's an iceberg at 09. So if I'm going to play this, I think that that's my spot. They did slice through it, so I don't know. So far, this isn't looking very good for me. I don't like that I'm doing it here as McCarthy is speaking too. Okay, so they slipped through there and then somebody shot back. I'm going to clear from below us. There was 1198 though at 08 half that hit back. Do it through here. Well, I don't know. We are seeing the cumulative delta turn south. Maybe I should have waited for them to bust through here at 08 half first before trying to do something. Also, flattening. Definitely seeing over the last hour or two flattening. Perhaps could just be profit taking from the steepener. Seems like 09 is the spot. And I took it, so we'll recenter there again. Okay. So at the moment, it does seem like there are more sellers out there, but it's still going back and forth across the way half quite a bit. So that's interesting. That uptick resulted in a lot of volume. So like 810 to make it go bid, and then 900 sold into it, but it stayed bid. The Discord is in the video description. There's just an invite link. You click on that and it'll take you to the Discord. Come on. Yeah. I like it. Nope. That was a good uptick and everything, but not able to get a good bid at 09, and people hitting into 09 have to push us out of the range, so. And down ticket 08 half. Seems like it's more in the 5-year again. Japanese yen is falling. Gold is... Dude, gold is getting creamed right now. That's curious. And the dollar is seeing some strength here, huh? But look, the 30-year still wants to go up. The 30-year wants to go up, and the 5-year is trying to drag him down. I don't know what to think about this one, because since I've been in this trade, I'm not really seeing the flows go my way. I'm seeing the flows go against me, but I'm still at break even, which I find a little weird. I don't think that I can really make... I don't think that that really actually tells me anything, though. Okay, well, they got out of the way at 09 again. And they didn't at 08 half, so that's a slight change that's positive. Still seeing that spreading behavior coming in. The 5-year wants to be down, and the 30-year is now up 2 ticks. Iceberg at 08 half, in fact. Five-year decides to tick up. Yep, okay. Okay. Still not enough to get a good bid at 09, but... See, this is me when I'm like way too deep in the flow, right? Because all of the little things, these are all small little things that like it could change at any moment, but that's just how it goes. You know, each one of them is a small little data point that maybe tells us something about what's going on. There was a little bit of iceberging at 08 half, and then they were able to tick up, but they're still not able to get bidding at 09. Why so much buying on ES? That's not what I'm seeing. Now, I don't know what with gold and silver. Gold and silver being at their lows and getting creamed, and oil getting creamed also are all a little odd. But the gold and silver in particular, it looks like what's happening with gold and silver. Oh, actually, so you know what might be going on is the dollar, it does look strong here. So maybe it is that the dollar is strong, and that would normally be causing sell pressure in the treasuries, but the treasuries are net up because of the end of month flows and so forth. That could be why we're seeing that. And since gold and silver don't have those dynamics to buoy them, then the dollar rising just crushes them. Because the dollar is now above yesterday's highs, isn't it? Oh, no, not even close. Yesterday's highs was 106.4. So there's actually still a long ways to go before they'd even be to 106. Okay, well, they did finally get some buying at 09 half. In fact, it only took 72 contracts to make them go bid at 09 half, so that's a really good win for us. There are some people trading the 2-year today. I think as time goes on, we should start to see the 2-year start to become more and more popular, because if we do get like risk off moves and stuff, I think you're likely to see stronger up moves in the short end of the curve, essentially. So that would make selling 2 years super attractive, right? Okay, so now we come back and test this 09. Okay. So I'm still seeing more market sell orders out there than I would like to, but the bid is still there. But look like they got through it. How long has it been now? been a long time. It's been almost 30 minutes, hasn't it? Oh no, it's only been 11 minutes. Oh. Okay, so that's funny. So I tried to scratch it there because I did not like the way that it came back, and I just don't like how soft it is down here at the bottom, and it's been long enough. I feel like I should be seeing more of a change in the market orders, and I'm just not. So I think I have to give up on the trade. But I was starting to get pressured a little bit, so I hit it. And it actually, just at the last second, went one tick in my favor. So I thought it was going to be a scratch. I actually got +1. But you can see right there, it'd be a break even because I took 4,525. And the 30 years coming back. Yeah, that's not... I don't know. This is a little... I find it interesting that we had such a steady and consistent buy throughout most of this session. And now, after all of the news is done and everything, it seems to be faltering. It's a little odd. Well, it's not terrible now. I mean, it's mostly the spread, but like I would be up 5 at the moment. You took 70 ticks? Wow. Wait, what did you get 70 ticks on? Are you in a short on one of these, like, oil gold? Oh, well, you're short on ES? Wait, 70 ticks on ES? How did you do that? Maybe you got a short from 4370. Oh, maybe if it was on NQ, then that would be different, right? This is very interesting that, like, the treasuries are kind of just, like, they seem like they're kind of going nowhere now. But I'm seeing so many other assets are doing wild stuff right now. Gold and silver are just getting crushed. The dollar has been pushing really hard. There's an iceberg at 09.5. So a Citigroup analyst saying the Fed will have to raise again in November. That's Citi's CEO Fraser. Month core PCE inflation declined across all 3 buckets in August, but most noticeably in goods, says Nick Timmeros. Starting to look like I was wrong to scratch that, guys. I kind of did it reflexively just as it came back and like, oh, it's been 10 minutes, the flows aren't in my favor, but like I would be up +5 right now and I've got an iceberg behind me. That would have been good. I'd be feeling really good about it right now if I was still in. course, it's only like 2 tick difference, so maybe I'm talking myself into something that I really shouldn't be. You kind of wonder though if the dollar turns back around here. Forex Live tweets, the inflation metrics the Fed is watching closely are headed in the right direction. Yep, City's saying it was the City CEO, I think. I don't know if that one's as huge of a deal, but... I'm just sitting here thinking over and over again. I think I talked myself out of a good trade. But why can't I talk myself into it right now? It's because I'm not actually seeing the flow. No. In many respects, the flow is still negative. The amount of shift that we had then, it's making me like, oh, it was a good trade is not actually a big change. It's not actually like what I was looking for. I guess it kind of suggests that if we do get what I was looking for, then it's going to be a really good trade. But 30 minutes left. That was a little odd. It kind of hit it, but it didn't clear, and there's some pushback. Down tick. Yeah. It actually took quite a lot to make it happen, but it happened. Now iceberg on the offer. See what I mean? The flow is sideways. It's like soft underneath of them. I bet you they're probably able to trade through 09 really easily too. So I could have made 5 ticks on it, but I don't think that the actual trade is working. The predicted flows are not occurring at all. And in fact, that tick down takes us to new cumulative delta lows for this cycle. So, yep. Well, I stressed about it a lot there, guys. I really did. I really was sitting there looking like, I don't know if I made the right choice scratching it, because like it almost immediately went back to the +5. But like, look at that right there. I would definitely be puking now. There's no way I would hold through that. To see it come all the way back down so easily and the deltas all going negative. I'm just not getting the support for the trade that I want. Maybe we need to wait for the European close, because I still kind of anticipate that going into the pit close today that it will be a buy, but that there might have been that we've gotten all the flow that you're going to get long for the morning, and then when we get closer, maybe after European market closes, or maybe it's after or closer to the pit close, then maybe we'll see that buying instead. But it just all of a sudden turned into a really tight market, and I'm stressing over 5 ticks, and that's definitely does not look like what I was anticipating. So we can talk about aliens again if you want. This week's, well, yeah, the liquidity has been slippery. Yesterday, man, after watching them react to the economic news in the morning, the economic releases, I was so put off from trading it, because we really did slide around. But you know what it is that, again, like, there are just like massive flows coming through the dollar right now. There are just really massive currency flows. And when the dollar is that wild, I feel like all of the other markets are just spectators, you know? Okay, let's see here. I can see your DM. You're doing it with a spreadsheet? How are you doing that with a spreadsheet? Okay. Yeah, I do see your file, Jiwi. Yeah, you did say it was Excel, didn't you? It's just that, like, the size of the sheet and everything, I'm not sure how we get a good back test off of this. How does 5 years of intraday data fit into 461K? Am I underestimating how many rows that it'll have? Couldn't open in protected view. What does that? Does that mean that I'm not allowed to look at it? It is challenging. That's when you have to, like, program. This is weird. Wait, what? Show in folder. There we go. Well, you know what? At the very least, the price that I got was really good. Maybe it as of yet goes higher, but I don't think that the trade that I was in is working. I would be in it for 30 minutes now. I would definitely probably not still be in it. So, from what I'm looking at, so you're doing it based on the co-integration of them at the close of the day, essentially. You know, it is profitable. I don't know what your scale is here. Like it's saying, I don't know with all of these different things. There's a bunch of different things here about this. I'm guessing this one must be Apple and Google, and then this one must be the combined strategy. Well, like when it says they're 40, what does that mean? $40? $40,000? Oh, dude, they totally went. Like I give up on it and then goes. You know what though? The delta's still not going up though. That was probably the dollar fell, huh? Yep. If they go back here and bust the highs, then I'm gonna be so pissed because I had the trade, but I made my choice. I scratched it. First chart is total. So the thing that I would say is that the information that you have on here isn't enough for us to really judge the performance of it. Because like the real way to think of it is like, what would have happened? What would I make if I had just bought Google from the beginning, right? Or bought Apple from the beginning? And just held it, right? So we can't see what like the risk adjusted performance of this is. Like what is the beta what is the beta and alpha that you're making compared to holding the S&P 500, essentially. So doesn't really give us enough to see if it's a good strategy or not. You know, with the way that that's looking, that looks like a pretty good curve. And it actually looks like it may have actually helped you avoid some of the drama during COVID. So maybe it is a really good strategy. But I'm also kind of like, I don't know if that even makes sense doing it from a day-by-day perspective. Okay, so how upset should I be about that they did eventually tick up here? Well, it's 10 ticks, so... And it may come right back, so. In fact, there's a downtick. Oh, that's right. We were supposed to look up who is Thomas Malthus. Influential in the fields of political economy and demography. An increase in a nation's food production improved the well-being of the population, but the improvement was temporary because it led to population growth, which in turn restored the original per capita production level. In other words, humans had a propensity to use abundance for population growth rather than for maintaining a high standard of living. A view that has become known as the Malthusian trap or Malthusian specter. Populations had a tendency to grow until the lower class suffered hardship, want, and greater susceptibility to war, famine, and disease, a pessimistic view that is sometimes referred to as a Malthusian catastrophe. Malthus wrote in opposition to the popular view in the 18th century that saw society as improving and in principle as perfectible. Well, so that is kind of interesting. Malthus considered population growth as inevitable whenever conditions improved, thereby precluding real progress towards a utopian society, although I don't think that that's strictly true. I guess it would match up with the most recent things where it's like, well, standard of living is not increasing as much. Well, but actually it has improved, so. Nah, I think that the population growth is due to other factors in the I think that it largely has to do with the sexual revolution. Seems to have changed a great many things. The power of population is indefinitely greater than the power of the earth to produce subsistence. I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't agree with this guy at all. He remains a much debated writer. I don't think I agree with him. Because greater prosperity in the Western world has led to a lower birth rate, not a higher birth rate. So it's definitely proven him wrong, right? Or like all of the population scientists disagree with him. They're saying, hey, as Africa becomes more wealthy, they're gonna have a lower birth rate. Did you up? Not yet. I know that it was coming today, though. I guess we should go and check out the changelog to see if there was anything interesting other than the two major filters that they meant, or two major features that they mentioned yesterday. So for those of you that are not sure what I'm talking about, they added two features. One is like a footprint reversal chart, which, as I understand it, will basically start a new bar when there is enough of a reversal of sorts, so that you can kind of have your profiles split up by moves. And then the which I'm not too interested in, to be honest with you. But then the other one is cross-instrument trading, which means that I can have my ES up, but then have the orders go into MES, which is awesome. Much needed feature, I think. Option to remove current price horizontal line. Okay. New chart feature volume profile graded option to the history style. Oh, okay. I don't know what that's about. Well, I'll download it. I'm trying to lobby for getting spreads in the dollar into Jigsaw, so Because one of the things that I really hate is that the full setup that I'm doing right now does not necessarily make sense for the majority of people. If you're going to use NinjaTrader, then probably you should use NinjaTrader brokerage. You know? And I'm kind of the opinion that, like, nah. I didn't like them too much. But, you know, so it'd be nice to be able to go to EdgeClear and just use Jigsaw. So if all of the features that we really, really needed were all in Jigsaw, then that, I think, would be the optimal situation for us. So I'm trying to get them to put those few little things that I think are absolutely essential for us to trade into Jigsaw. Yeah, that would be awesome. I think so too. And I think we can get them to do it. And, you know, because I've done so much work, they kind of have like everything that they need to do it, and they should be able to hammer it out pretty easily. Probably ask him about it next week. By the way, I was going back. I forgot about the sheet that Jiwi sent me. Did I already close it? I think I did. I didn't see how he was actually calculating the co-integration factor. But, I know this week I've been really deep into the code and programming. I'm trying to make unit tests and for this thing we're working on at work, and it's turning out to be a real pain in the butt. I don't really have to like go too deep down into this particular way of testing it. I'm kind of more like, well, we have a little bit of time until we can make this release, so let's take advantage of it. But it is like just not working. Slope and intercept. I have an indicator that I've made that gives you like a score, you know. For each bar, it gives you a score on how co-integrated they seem to be. But I don't think that I've made a strategy out of it before. Maybe I have. I must have somewhere, but never with itself. So I would want to make it an indicator that says, first of all, let's do co-integration with itself. So I think I can do that because it does allow you to put like an indicator on itself, like with a certain amount of lag, right? But maybe I should just make an indicator that's called lag that would just show you the close price from X bars back. Or from that bar the previous day. Excel suffers everything, huh? So they made that move up and then they've kind of settled back at 10 again, which is the point of control for this session. And it's hanging out there, so... And we're going to be ending. So I guess in the end, after me stressing out a little bit, I might have been able to have made 10 ticks if I had actually like had an order sitting there and everything, but likely maybe I would have only have gotten 5. So I did stress about everything. I think that I made ultimately the right decision, which is that the flows appear to already be gone. So it all suffers and then it crashes. Well, I think I got to get into doing these things in Python. I got to tell you, when you do them in Python, there's all sorts of funky stuff you can do. So just as an example of volume profile. So like when I'm doing it in C# and NinjaTrader and everything, I basically have to say, okay, each order, what price did it happen at, and go and put it in that bucket, right? But when I do it in Python, I can just say, do a distribution on it, sort of a thing. And there's like all of these optimized algorithms that will instantly do it for you. So like, it's actually really easy to program some of these things in Python. And if you really want to do like really complicated statistical analysis, you can really do it in Python. I also think that Python would be beneficial in doing like managing a large universe of things. Can't really do that in NinjaTrader. Can't really do that on a spreadsheet, right? Like the thing that probably the project that we should be doing, that I should be programming, maybe we should do next time that we get like a free day, is find a good data service that will give us futures data and try and run a momentum strategy. Okay, well, I'm sure that there are all sorts of crazy things going on today with work, so it's kind of end of the quarter. There's always lots of stuff going on. People need to buy and sell things. So I think it'll be good for me to end a little bit early. We made 1 tick today, so we should congratulate ourselves. Could have been worse. We could have lost big because this was a pretty big. And hey, you know what else is like having my average position at 10 and my loss almost to the low of the day here. And generally having had the trend right after that news is also something to celebrate. And I do think that in the coming weeks we could see some buying in treasuries. I kind of want to have this position. Of course, I can puke it, but so I'm liking this so far. I'm liking this sim trade, so we'll leave that. All right, guys, I will see you Monday, and hopefully I'll have that video for you. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.